Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura. And have you ever heard of a basket apron? Well, it looks like a regular apron. However, it has a little bonus that when you pull up the strings, it turns into a basket. So you're able to carry things as fruits and vegetables from the garden or just picking up and cleaning around the house. It's quick and easy and reversible. And of course, fabric is always fun to pick out for an apron. And because I'm going to be using this apron in the garden, I thought the rain boots from Timeless Treasures would be very cute. And on the reverse side, I'm going to use the solid blue. Now I'm going to top stitch this, so I'm going to use a thread that's going to match one fabric or the other. So I've chose the blue fabric. And I'm going to use Aurifil 2810. I think it'll be a nice match for the top stitch. The next is going to be some string, and this is what's going to tie it up into a basket. Now you can either tie the ends or you can get one of these little toggles, and you can get them at the fabric store. You'll find them often on the ends of sweatshirt strings, and you just can pinch it and adjust it, and when you let it go, it keeps that thread very, very snug. And you might want a button. This is going to be optional. And we're going to take a square and we're going to round the edges, so something that's going to give you a nice round edge. And to make the apron front, which is the basket, you're going to need two squares the same size. And I've started with 22 inches. And I'm going to put them right sides together. Take two ends and round them off. And that's where a nice big plate will come in handy. Just round the edges on one side, move it over, round the edges on the next. And when those rounded edges are trimmed off, we need to find the center. Just fold the pieces together and just mark it with your hands, and that's going to leave you a mark. And put a pin right where that mark is. Now on each side of the pin, measure over 3/4 of an inch and mark it. And starting at both of those marks, stitch all the way up to the top on both sides, and you're going to have the top left open. When you finish stitching, you're going to have an opening in the bottom. Take the seam and press it back on itself, and then roll it under on both sides. And you only need to do that for a couple inches. Then take the material and open it up. And right here where you have that opening, and the seams have been pressed down, you just need to stitch around that opening, and that's going to make a buttonhole. You don't have to do all of it, just the opening. So you still have that opening, but it's been stitched around, and reinforce both of the edges. Now take this entire apron and turn it right side out and press the edges nice and flat. Next we'll be doing a row of stitching just to hold the layers together as close as you can to the edge, and start and stop right there so that opening stays open. So we still have that opening open. Now we need to do one more row of stitching and have it go 1 inch from the edge over, and you can go all the way around. You do not have to have that space there. So what we have now is a casing all the way around with an opening in the bottom and two openings at the top. You're going to need 2 yards of string, and that's going to give you lots. And you need to put that string in all the way, starting from one side going to the other. I like to use a long flexible bobbin for this. So you have each end of the string coming out along the top, and the apron front is still laying flat. What you need to do is grab the string from that little opening inside. Make sure you don't lose your ends up at the top. You now will be able to slide that little clip into that loop. Press the clip together and you'll see an opening, and you're going to be able to thread that loop through that hole. So you have that loop hanging out. Now we need to tie a knot so that it doesn't come back out. And check and make sure that this is not going to come off. If it's going to come off, double knot it. Now pull your string in so that that is nice and flat along the edge, and the entire apron front lays flat. And now that the string is inside and the apron is nice and flat, you need to do a row of stitching to hold those two layers together and to make sure that string stays exactly where you want it. I would recommend doing a couple of rows of stitching right over these edges here to secure that string, and then just do one simple row along the top. The next is putting a waistband on. Because I've used two different colors for the front and the back, I'm going to use two different colors for the waistbands. I'm going to start with a 4.5 inch, and I'm going to do 4 pieces at 21 inches. Then I'm going to sew them together. So I'm going to have different colors throughout. So the ties or the waistband is 84 inches. Find the center of the apron top and match it with the center of that long strip. And with right sides together, stitch that waistband on. At this point, you can trim off any leftover string that you have. The next will be sewing the ends together and the rest of the waistband on. So match up the raw edges all the way along, matching that center. Now you need to keep the apron skirt out of the way. So if you just take it and just roll it into that waistband, you will be able to start stitching right where you left off. So stitch all the way down one side, turn it around and stitch the other. When both the ends are done, pull them right side out. You will need to stitch the back of the waistband onto the apron. Fold it over the same amount of your seam allowance. You're going to be able to press it and then top stitch it right down. And while you're top stitching, top stitch all the way around, and that will secure it. One last thing to do, and this is optional, is to sew a nice big button right in the center of the waistband. So right now the apron just looks like a very simple reversible apron. To make it a basket, just squeeze that little knob and pull that string. So when the apron is on, you have a basket. The button, well, that's so that you can put that top loop in and hold that on. So not only do you have a very simple reversible apron that you can use every day, you can take that ordinary apron, pull up those strings, and you have a nice carry-in basket. So you can go into the garden and pick your fruits and vegetables, or you can pick up all the stuff around the house that needs to be put away. And it leaves your hands free. Quick and easy. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.